The mysterious distress signal. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly, cold and silent, as if it held 1,000 secrets. Among the countless stars, there was a small, peaceful planet named Zarlek Prime. The Zarlek people had never known war. They were scholars, farmers, and healers, never fighters. But today, their world was burning. Flaming wreckage fell from the sky as Gravok warships unleashed their fury. Massive armored vessels hovered above the cities, firing plasma beams that tore through the grand spires and domes of Zarlek civilization. Screams of the innocent echoed across the once peaceful land. Families ran, desperate to find shelter. But there was none. Inside the Royal Command Center, the Zarlek Queen, Turvala, stood trembling, her golden eyes reflecting the devastation outside. Her advisors were in chaos. Some shouted for surrender, others for negotiations. But the Queen knew the truth. There would be no mercy. The Gravok warlords were conquerors. They did not take prisoners. A Zarlek scientist, his hand shaking, turned to her. "Your Majesty, the Galactic Council has refused to help us. They say we are not important enough to risk war with the Gravok." Queen Turvala closed her eyes, despair settling in her chest. The Council had abandoned them. The strongest forces in the galaxy had chosen to look the other way. She turned towards her last hope, a single distress beacon. The technician hesitated. "Majesty, where should we send it? There is no one left to save us." For a moment, she didn't know. But then, a whisper of an old legend surfaced in her mind. A species, feared, mysterious, and powerful. A race that had never bowed to any galactic empire. A race that, if the stories were true, could destroy entire fleets without warning. The humans. Her hands trembled as she activated the beacon and entered the transmission code for the Outer Rim sectors, Earth's last known location. With a deep breath, she pressed the button. A single message shot into the void of space. "To any who hear this, we are the Zarlek. We are under attack. We have no weapons, no defense. The Galactic Council has abandoned us. We beg, if there is anyone out there who still believes in justice, help us, please." Then she whispered to herself, "Let the monsters of the stars hear our cry." Light years away, Earth's lethal fleet. Deep in Sector 9, far beyond the borders of the Galactic Council, a massive warship floated in the blackness of space. The ESS Vengeance, the deadliest battleship in Earth's fleet, was stationed there, running tactical drills. Inside the command center, Admiral Cole leaned against the observation deck, his sharp blue eyes staring at the distant nebula. His body carried the scars of 100 battles, but his mind was sharper than ever. The ship's AI system, Omega-7, suddenly spoke, its voice cold and mechanical. "Incoming distress signal. Priority. Extreme." Cole turned, his interest piqued. "Who is it from?" A holographic screen flickered to life. The message played. The voice of Queen Turvala filled the room, desperate and trembling. The message ended, leaving silence in the command center. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, Commander Riley, his second-in-command, scoffed. "Another alien race crying for help. Sounds like a Galactic Council problem. Not ours." Cole didn't answer immediately. He knew the rules. Earth had chosen to remain neutral after the last war. The humans had fought too many battles, lost too many soldiers. They had sworn never to interfere again. But something about the message felt different. He turned to the AI. "Omega, analyze. What are the odds that this species survives without intervention?" The AI processed for 3 seconds before replying. "Probability of Zarlek survival, 0.3%. Their extinction is imminent." Cole exhaled slowly. An entire civilization, wiped out, and no one cared. He clenched his fist. That didn't sit right with him. "Sir, should we ignore it?" Riley asked, waiting for orders. Cole turned back toward the vast emptiness of space, thinking. He remembered the battles, the pain, the faces of those who had fallen. He remembered why Earth had once fought, to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. His voice was quiet, but filled with iron resolve. "Prepare the fleet." Riley's eyes widened. "Wait, are you serious? We're going to war over a species we've never even met." Cole turned, his gaze like steel. "We're not going to war. We're going to send a message." He stepped forward, looking at the massive warships docked outside the observation window. Hundreds of them, each one a predator in the darkness of space. His voice was final. "No one wipes out an entire species on our watch." And just like that, Earth's most lethal fleet prepared to move. The monsters of the galaxy had no idea what was coming for them. The fleet awakens. Earth's war machine mobilizes. The ESS Vengeance rumbled with life as battle alarms echoed through its steel corridors. Crew members sprinted to their stations, weapons systems powered up, and the colossal warship's engines flared, preparing for the impossible jump across the galaxy. Admiral Cole stood at the central command bridge, his arms crossed as holographic displays projected the Zarlek Prime system in front of him. The AI Omega-7 highlighted the current battle conditions. Gravok fleet strength, 97% operational. Zarlek population, 23% remaining, dropping fast. Survival time without intervention, less than 4 hours. Cole's jaw tightened. He turned toward Commander Riley, his second-in-command, who still looked unsure. "Sir, this is a full-scale invasion. If we get involved, the Galactic Council will notice. We might start another war." Cole didn't hesitate. "Then let them notice. It's time they remembered who we are." Riley sighed, but nodded. This was how humanity had always been. They didn't fight for land, or power, or politics. They fought for those who had no one else. "All fleet captains report in, sir. Awaiting orders." Cole stepped forward, his voice cold and commanding. "Initiate Operation Ironstorm. All ships, prepare for warp." A low hum filled the command deck as the massive warp gates aboard the fleet powered up. Blue energy crackled along the metal conduits, forming an expanding vortex of light, large enough to swallow an entire moon. Earth's hidden power. Unlike most galactic forces, Earth's military didn't rely on just numbers. They relied on brutal efficiency and overwhelming force. Stealth dreadnoughts, ships so heavily armored and shielded that no known alien weapon could pierce them in a single hit. Hyperfighters, piloted by AI-assisted humans, capable of speeds rivaling light itself. Orbital rail cannons, capable of firing tungsten projectiles at near-relativistic speeds, turning entire fleets into debris. And worst of all, the blackout ships, experimental warships designed to shut down enemy communications, sensors, and weapons, rendering entire armadas blind, deaf, and defenseless. Admiral Cole activated the fleet-wide channel, speaking to the 500,000 men and women preparing for battle. "For too long, we have remained silent. We have watched from the shadows, avoiding war while the galaxy suffered under tyrants. But today we remind them why humanity was never conquered. We remind them why we are feared." He paused, his voice turning sharp as a blade. "The Zarlek asked for help, and we will answer." The entire fleet roared in response. Engines fired at full power, the warp gate expanded, pulling the fleet into its massive energy vortex. Stars stretched into streaks of light as Earth's most lethal armada vanished from existence, moving toward its prey at speeds no alien could comprehend. And just like that, the monsters of the galaxy had no idea what was coming for them. Zarlek Prime, the last hour. Back on Zarlek Prime, the last remnants of civilization crumbled. Gravok General Varkas stood atop his war platform, watching with satisfaction as his warriors butchered the remaining Zarlek. Their cities burned in the distance. The once glorious temples of knowledge now lay in ruins, their scrolls and artifacts trampled under the feet of conquerors. His second-in-command, Captain Drogath, approached, grinning. We've almost finished the extermination, General. The Queen's palace is the last target. Should I give the order? Varkas chuckled, gripping the hilt of his plasma axe. No need. I'll finish this myself. The Queen will beg before she dies. A tremor suddenly shook the sky. For a moment, Trogath hesitated. Sir, what was that? The Gravok warships overhead, once secure and unchallenged, started glitching. Their targeting systems flickered, radar screens went dark, and communications cut off. And then, without warning, a firestorm erupted from the heavens. The arrival, Wrath of Earth. The sky above Zarlek Prime split apart as a fleet of midnight black warships materialized from hyperspace. The ESS Vengeance led the charge, followed by 100 Earth dreadnoughts and thousands of support cruisers. Their arrival was silent. Their weapons were not. Boom! The first orbital rail cannon fired. A Gravok command vessel, 20 kilometers long, exploded in an instant, reduced to burning debris. The shockwave ripped apart nearby ships as if they were made of paper. Before the Gravok even understood what was happening, 20 more warships detonated. The ESS Vengeance powered its main weapon, a hyperkinetic fusion lance. The energy cannon charged, the air around it shimmering from pure destructive force. Admiral Cole gave his first command. Fire. A beam of annihilation erupted from the Vengeance, piercing through the Gravok mothership like a hot knife through flesh. The massive flagship split in two, both halves descending toward the planet in a rain of fire. Panic. Chaos. Death. The *** Gravok, who had never known fear, now faced something far worse. *** a predator that did not show mercy. General Varkas stared in horror as his entire fleet was obliterated within seconds. Who? What is this? He screamed. A single transmission came through. A voice, cold, commanding, and merciless. This is Admiral Cole of the Terran fleet. He let the silence linger. Run. Varkas clenched his fists, rage overtaking his fear. I do not run. I am a warrior of the Gravok. Cole cut him off. Then you die. The next orbital strike vaporized his entire war platform. The Gravok Empire had made its worst mistake. They had ignored the distress call. Earth had answered it. And now, humanity was here. The final battle. Humanity's wrath unleashed. Zarlek Prime. A planet on fire. The sky was no longer blue. It was an inferno. The moment Earth's ESS Vengeance and its fleet arrived, the entire Gravok invasion force was thrown into absolute chaos. Their fleet, once a symbol of galactic domination, was breaking apart, their command structure shattered, and their morale obliterated. On the scorched ground below, the remaining Zarlek people clung to life, watching in awe as gods of war descended from the sky. Queen Turvala stood atop the broken ruins of her palace, her golden eyes wide, as she saw the impossible. The Gravok warships, which had once blotted out the sun, were now being wiped out like insects. And the humans, they were doing it effortlessly. For the first time in galactic history, humanity had stepped onto the battlefield. And it was terrifying. The Gravok's last stand. In orbit, what remained of the Gravok fleet desperately tried to regroup. General Varkas was dead. His war platform, a once indestructible floating fortress, had been annihilated in a single blast from the ESS Vengeance. Now the remaining Gravok commanders were screaming over their failing communication channels. What the hell is happening? One yelled, his face twisted in terror. They're moving too fast. We can't lock onto them. Our sensors are blind. We're losing ships faster than we can count. From his command ship, Admiral Cole watched silently, his piercing blue eyes locked onto the Gravok fleet. He had seen this before, the way an overconfident enemy panicked when they realized they were outmatched. The way they broke apart when they realized they were not the apex predators anymore. It never got old. The fleet-wide channel came online, and Cole spoke one sentence. Begin planetary assault. That was all it took. Storming the battlefield. On the burning plains of Zaralek Prime, massive human dropships emerged from the sky, streaking downward like meteors. Shock troopers in exosuits leaped out before landing, their boots slamming into the shattered terrain. They moved like machines, swift, coordinated, and unstoppable. Armor-piercing Gauss rifles tore through Gravok warriors like tissue paper. Advanced eye-targeting systems made every human soldier deadlier than an entire squad of alien infantry. Gravok plasma cannons fired back, but Earth's kinetic shielding tech absorbed the energy like a sponge. The Zaralek survivors, weak and helpless only moments ago, now saw their saviors. One young Zaralek child, his tiny body covered in soot and blood, stared in awe as a massive human soldier in jet-black armor landed right in front of him, raising his rifle. The boy flinched. Then, boom! The soldier fired. A Gravok warrior, who had been lunging toward the child with his blade raised, was instantly obliterated. The massive human warrior glanced down at the boy. His helmet's red visor glowed menacingly. Then, in a voice deep and commanding, he simply said, "Stay down, kid. We got this." And then he was gone, charging into the fray like a walking tank. The Gravok sphere. Back in orbit, the few remaining Gravok commanders finally realized the truth. This wasn't just an Earth fleet. This was a planetary extermination. One of the Gravok officers, his scales pale with fear, turned toward his subordinates. We have to run. We have to surrender," he stammered. But it was too late. Admiral Cole had already made his decision. He activated the fleet-wide broadcast. To all Gravok forces, his voice was ice-cold. "Surrender is not an option. You came here for genocide. You came here to exterminate the weak." A pause. "Now, the weak will watch as we exterminate you." The ESS Vengeance, the mightiest warship in human history, fired its main cannon again. This time, the entire remaining Gravok fleet was caught in the blast. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, all erased in a second. The Galactic Council had ignored the distress signal. Humanity had answered it. And this was their answer. The aftermath. Humanity's warning to the galaxy. Hours later, as the fires of battle died down, the last Gravok bodies lay scattered across the field. The Zaralek people, once at the brink of extinction, now looked toward their new protectors. Queen Turavala stood before Admiral Cole, her elegant robes torn, but her eyes filled with gratitude. She knelt. "Admiral, we owe you our lives." Cole remained silent. He wasn't here for gratitude. He wasn't here for glory. He was here because it was the right thing to do. But before he could respond, his communicator beeped. Omega-7's cold, digital voice spoke. "Incoming transmission. Origin. Galactic Council. Priority level. Emergency." Cole narrowed his eyes. So, they finally noticed. He pressed a button. A holographic projection appeared before him. A council of alien leaders, furious and panicked. The council chairman, an old reptilian diplomat, snarled in anger. "Terran Admiral, you have violated intergalactic laws. You launched an unsanctioned war. The destruction of the Gravok fleet will have consequences." Cole smirked. He wasn't intimidated. He leaned forward, his voice calm but deadly. "The Gravok were monsters. We took out the trash." The alien council erupted into arguments, demanding explanations, threatening sanctions. Cole simply raised a hand. They fell silent. And then he delivered the warning that would shake the entire galaxy. "The next time you ignore a distress call, we won't just be answering it." A pause. "We'll be sending one." The screen cut to black. The entire galaxy had just witnessed what happened when Earth's most lethal fleet responded to a distress signal. And they would never forget it. Humanity stands alone. The Galactic Council's ultimatum. The aftermath of annihilation. The battle was over. The Gravok Empire, once feared across the stars, no longer existed. Their warships, gone. Their armies, erased. Their homeworlds, silent and burning. Zarlek Prime, the planet that had once been at the brink of extinction, now stood saved, but forever changed. On the ground, the last Zarlek survivors wandered through the ruins of their civilization, dazed by the sudden turn of fate. The bodies of their would-be exterminators lay scattered in smoldering heaps. Above them, the human warships still loomed in the sky like floating gods of destruction. And for the first time in history, the galaxy had learned a brutal lesson. When humans come to war, they don't come to play. Earth's unforgivable crime. 3 days later, in the heart of the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber, chaos erupted. The chamber, a massive, dome-like structure hovering over the capital planet Forless 9, was filled with representatives of hundreds of species. The air was thick with tension. At the center of the chamber, a massive holographic projection replayed the events of the battle. Human warships arriving in full force. The Gravok fleet being obliterated in minutes. Admiral Cole's final words before cutting communication. The alien representatives watched in stunned silence. Some were in awe. Others were horrified. The council chairman, a towering reptilian alien named Forshek, slammed his clawed fist on the table. "This is an act of war," he roared, his fangs bared. "Humanity defy our authority. They ignored our rulings. They destroyed an empire without permission." A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. The Terrans must answer for this. A small insectoid diplomat from the core of a swarm clicked its mandibles nervously. "Chairman Forshek, if I may, the Gravok were not exactly peaceful. They were an aggressive empire. Perhaps humanity was merely—" "Silence," Vorshek snapped. His burning yellow eyes locked onto the holographic image of Admiral Cole. "This man has declared humanity above the law of the galaxy. They acted without approval, without restraint." Another alien diplomat, this time a blue-skinned Carthian noble, raised her voice. "Are we truly angry that the Gravok are gone? Or are we angry that humanity has proven they are stronger than us?" A deep silence followed. Because that was the truth. No one had ever seen this side of humanity before. Yes, humans were traitors. Yes, humans were explorers. Yes, humans were diplomats. But now the galaxy had seen what humanity could do when it was angry. And it terrified them. The ultimatum. Finally, the Council came to a decision. A formal transmission was sent directly to Earth. It carried a simple message. The destruction of the Gravok Empire was an illegal act. The Terran fleet must stand down and submit to the authority of the Galactic Council. Humanity must send Admiral Cole and his officers to the Council for trial. If Earth refuses, the Council will consider it an act of rebellion. The message was clear. Either humanity bows, or it burns. Earth's response. Aboard the ESS Vengeance, Admiral Cole sat in the warship's strategy room, reading the Council's message. A slow, humorless smile spread across his face. "They actually think they can intimidate us." Around him, his officers sat in silence. Commander Riley was the first to speak. "Sir, we knew this was coming. But if we don't respond carefully, we might be facing a war with the entire Council." Cole leaned back, considering his options. He knew Earth's history. Centuries ago, before humans ever reached the stars, they had fought wars against each other. Their history was written in blood, from ancient empires to nuclear holocausts. The Galactic Council. They had never seen real war. They had never known what it meant to fight a species that never surrenders. Cole exhaled slowly. Then he stood. "Prepare a response." The Terran message to the galaxy. 1 hour later, a new transmission was sent to every major faction in the galaxy. Admiral Cole stood calm and unmoving, his blue eyes sharp and merciless. His message was short and clear. Earth does not recognize the authority of the Galactic Council. We do not answer to politicians who refuse to act when innocent lives are at stake. We will protect those who need it, whether you approve or not. If you wish to declare war, then do so. But be warned, humanity does not fight wars. A pause. Then, Cole finished with a sentence that would be remembered for centuries. We end them. The transmission cut out, and the galaxy held its breath. The galaxy's reaction. Panic spread like wildfire. Some species secretly admired Earth. The oppressed races, the ones the Galactic Council had ignored, saw hope for the first time. Some species were terrified. If humanity could destroy an empire in a day, what else were they capable of? Some species prepared for war. The Council's military forces, hundreds of fleets, began to mobilize. And in the darkest corners of the galaxy, where warlords whispered and shadow empires schemed, new alliances were being formed. The Council had two choices: try to crush humanity, or accept that Earth was no longer under their rule. Earth's next move. Back on Earth, in the United Terran Command, military leaders debated their strategy. The Galactic Council had more ships, more soldiers, more resources. But Earth had something no one else did. Tactical genius. Weapons designed for extinction-level warfare. A history of never backing down. Admiral Cole stood before the assembled Terran High Command. His voice was calm, but his words sent chills down their spines. The Council wants us to bow. He paused, scanning the room. They'll soon realize. We don't know how. The Council declares war, and Earth unleashes its true power. The Galactic Council's vote. War against humanity. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been more divided. The representatives of hundreds of species filled the vast hall, their voices raised in heated arguments. The holographic screen before them still displayed the final words of Admiral Cole. The Council wants us to bow. They'll soon realize. We don't know how. The moment the transmission had ended, fear spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Some species saw Earth as a hero, a power that would protect the weak when the Council failed. But others, they saw Earth as a threat, a rogue empire, a war-driven species that would destroy anyone who stood in their way. Chairman Vorshak, the towering reptilian leader of the Council, stood at the center of the chamber. His burning yellow eyes scanned the room, waiting for the chaos to die down. Then, in a voice cold as death, he declared, "Humanity has defied the laws of this galaxy. They have ignored our warnings, rejected our authority, and slaughtered an empire in a single day." A murmur of agreement spread through the hall. Vorshak clenched his clawed fist. They must be stopped. The vote was cast. Humanity was now declared an enemy of the Galactic Council. A war fleet would be assembled. The Council's combined military, over 600,000 ships, would launch a full-scale invasion of Earth. The order was clear. Destroy the Terran fleet. Cripple Earth. Force them to submit. But what the Council failed to realize was simple. They weren't about to fight an ordinary war. They were about to wage war against humanity. And humanity does not lose. Earth's war room, preparing for the impossible. Back on Earth, deep within the underground command center known as Fortress Terra, the United Terran military gathered for an emergency meeting. A massive holographic display flickered to life, showing the real-time movements of the Council's Armada. 600,000 warships, over 50,000 capital-class dreadnoughts, armies of bioengineered super soldiers, the most powerful species in the galaxy, united against Earth. It was the largest fleet ever assembled. But the human commanders weren't afraid. Instead, they looked at Admiral Cole, waiting for his reaction. Cole simply smirked. They think numbers will win them this war. He turned to his officers. Let's remind them, this is our home, and they are not welcome. The Terran war machine went into full operation. Stealth dreadnoughts deployed, massive, undetectable warships positioned themselves at strategic points across the solar system. Orbital rail cannons activated. Supermassive planetary defense stations powered up, capable of firing projectiles at near-light speeds. Project Ragnarok initiated, a classified military project that had remained hidden for decades, until now. Every human scientist, strategist, and engineer worked nonstop. This wasn't just a battle. This was Earth's last stand, and they would not go down without a fight. The Council's invasion. The Battle of Sol begins. Weeks later, the Galactic Council's Armada arrived. The skies above the Sol system turned black as hundreds of thousands of enemy warships entered Earth's orbit. It was a sight never before seen. The sheer size of the invasion fleet was overwhelming. It stretched across millions of kilometers, with battleships larger than moons. At the center of the fleet, Chairman Vorshak watched from his command ship, his eyes burning with victory. Today, humanity falls. The order was given. The first wave attacked. Dropships were launched. Orbital bombardments began. Massive warships descended toward Earth. The Galactic Council believed the battle was already won. They were wrong, because Earth was ready. Humanity's counterattack. A trap 20 years in the making. The moment the Council's fleet moved into Earth's orbit, the trap was sprung. Stealth dreadnoughts emerged. Ships that had been invisible to sensors suddenly uncloaked, unleashing devastating surprise attacks. AI-controlled fighter swarms activated. Thousands of autonomous Hunter-class AI fighters engaged the enemy, dodging attacks with inhuman precision. The orbital rail cannons fired. Massive tungsten projectiles, moving at relativistic speeds, tore through the Council's capital ships like paper. Within minutes, the first 10,000 enemy ships were destroyed. The Council's commanders panicked. What 8 is hey ppnang? Chairman Vorshak watched in horror as his invincible fleet was being torn apart. They knew we were coming. Of course they knew. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this. This wasn't just a war. This was an extinction-level counterstrike. Project Ragnarok, Earth's ultimate weapon. As the battle raged, the final piece of Earth's master plan was revealed. A signal was sent. Deep within the asteroid belt, a hidden Terran space station powered up. It had remained dormant for years, a last resort weapon in case of a full-scale invasion. And now, it was time to activate it. The project was called Ragnarok. The station's massive cannons turned toward the battlefield. Its prototyped superweapon, a graviton disruptor, began to charge. Admiral Cole's voice echoed across all Terran channels. They wanted to see what we're capable of. Let's show them. The order was given. Ragnarok fired. A massive gravitational pulse spread across the battlefield. Enemy warships suddenly collapsed under their own weight, crumbling like tin cans. Entire enemy fleets crushed. Dreadnoughts imploded into black holes. The Council's flagships vanished in an instant. It was no longer a battle. It was a massacre. The aftermath. A new galactic order. By the end of the battle, the Council's fleet was reduced to nothing. 600,000 warships reduced to 15,000 survivors. Billions of enemy troops lost. Chairman Vorshak's command ship destroyed. The remnants of the Galactic Council fled in terror. Humanity had not just survived. They had won. And now, the galaxy belonged to them. As Admiral Cole stood aboard the ESS Vengeance, watching the Council's remaining ships retreat, he turned to his officers. His voice was calm, but final. They thought they were giving us an ultimatum. He smirked. They never realized we were giving them one. And with that, the era of the Galactic Council ended. A new era had begun. The era of humanity. The aftermath. Humanity rises as the galaxy's supreme power. The day the stars fell silent. The Battle of Sol was over. The Galactic Council's once mighty invasion fleet, An armada of 600,000 warships now drifted as silent wreckage, scattered across the cold darkness of space. The Sol system, which the Council had planned to conquer in mere hours, stood untouched. Earth remained unconquered. Mars and its military colonies stood strong. The Luna Defense Network never even reached full capacity. The Galactic Council had miscalculated. They had believed that Earth was just another young race, unprepared for war. Instead, they had walked into a trap 20 years in the making. And now, they were ruined. The broken Council. A galaxy without rulers. In the days following the battle, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Chairman Vorshak was dead, his command ship obliterated in the final moments of the battle. Over 50% of the Council's warships were destroyed. Most surviving fleets had fled in disgrace. The once unbreakable Galactic Order had collapsed. For centuries, the Council had ruled the stars with an iron grip, controlling diplomacy, trade, and military power across thousands of worlds. But now, their greatest military defeat had left them crippled. The question on everyone's minds was the same. What happens now? Would humanity seize power? Would they destroy the Council completely? Would they take revenge on every species that opposed them? The galaxy waited in fear. Earth's victory. The message to the stars. A week after the battle, a broadcast was sent across the galaxy. Every species, every empire, every rogue colony, every pirate faction received the same message. The screen flickered to life. Standing in the center of the Terran war room was Admiral Cole, his expression calm but unyielding. The entire galaxy held its breath. Then he spoke. "The war is over." Asterisk, asterisk. The Galactic Council sent an armada to destroy us. They failed. Humanity did not start this war, but we ended it. A pause. Then his voice grew harsher. For too long, the Galactic Council has ruled through fear and corruption. They ignored the suffering of the weak. They protected tyrants while condemning the innocent. Another pause. Then the final words that would change history forever. That era is over. The broadcast ended. And with that, the old balance of power shattered. The rise of the Terran Empire. In the days that followed, Earth's power grew beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Dozens of alien races, once afraid of the Council, now sought alliances with humanity. Former Council-controlled planets declared independence, welcoming human protection. Even some Council species, realizing their leaders had failed them, turned to Earth. But not everyone accepted this new order. Several surviving Council species saw Earth as a tyrant in the making. Some warlords, once under Council rule, prepared for resistance. And in the darkest corners of the galaxy, whispers of a rebellion began. Humanity had won the war. But holding the galaxy together was a battle of its own. And soon, new enemies would rise. The fall of Vorless 9. The end of the Council. 1 month after the war, the Galactic Council made its last stand. The Council's homeworld, Vorless 9, was once the most powerful planet in the galaxy. It housed the grand political center of interstellar civilization. Now, it was a fortress. Thousands of warships surrounded the planet. Ground forces were armed for planetary defense. The Council's remaining leaders gathered in desperation. They knew that Earth's fleet was coming. And this time, there would be no negotiations. At the head of the Terran Armada, Admiral Cole gave a final order. End this. Earth's warships descended. And Vorless 9 burned. The last remnants of the Council were erased from history. There would be no more rulers of the galaxy. Now there was only one power. And it belonged to humanity. The future of the galaxy. A divided piece. With the Council gone, the galaxy entered a new era. Some worlds welcomed Earth as protectors. Some feared them as conquerors. And some, in the shadows, plotted their downfall. Humanity was now the supreme force of the stars. But power comes at a cost. Would Earth become the galaxy's greatest guardian? or its most feared empire? Only time would tell. The Last War. When the galaxy united against Earth. The calm before the storm. Earth stood as the undisputed ruler of the stars. The Galactic Council was gone, wiped from existence. The Sol system remained an impenetrable fortress. Countless alien races now swore loyalty to the new order under human rule. For the first time in history, no empire, no species, no warlord could challenge Earth's supremacy. But even in absolute victory, humanity knew one undeniable truth. Power breeds resistance. The galaxy had been ruled by the Galactic Council for thousands of years. Their fall had left a power vacuum. Some planets welcomed Earth's leadership. Others feared that humanity would become worse than the Council. And in the distant reaches of space, the broken remnants of defeated factions plotted in the darkness. One thing was clear: the war wasn't over. A greater conflict was coming. And this time, humanity would not be the hunter. They would be the hunted. The birth of the Galactic Rebellion. For months, silence filled the void of space. No major battles. No sudden uprisings. No challenges to Earth's rule. It was a false peace. Then, one day, a signal was intercepted from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. A broadcast sent across all known systems. The image flickered to life. A figure stood in shadows, their voice calm but filled with unshakable conviction. Earth believes it has won. A pause. They crushed the Council. They burned Vorless 9 to the ground. They claimed to bring peace. The voice grew colder. But they are not our saviors. They are our new masters. The figure stepped forward, revealing their identity. Chairman Vorshak's son, Karvok Vorshak, the last heir of the fallen Council, now a leader of the resistance. He raised his fist. Earth took everything from us. And now, we take it back. A symbol appeared behind him, one that sent shockwaves across the stars. The Galactic Rebellion was born. The enemy revealed. Earth faces the impossible. At first, humanity did not take the rebellion seriously. Small skirmishes, isolated uprisings on remote planets, minor terrorist attacks on human-controlled trade routes. But then, Earth's intelligence operatives made a horrifying discovery. The rebellion wasn't just a random group of survivors. It was a galactic-wide movement. 12 of the strongest surviving factions had united against Earth. Over 1 million warships had been assembled in secret. Advanced alien superweapons, once considered myths, were now real threats. Even worse, the rebellion had acquired something Earth feared most: Terran technology. Someone had leaked Earth's classified weapon designs to the enemy. Stealth tech, orbital rail cannons, graviton disruptors. For the first time since the war began, Earth was no longer the only one with these weapons. Humanity was no longer the apex predator. They were about to face an enemy as strong as themselves, and the war that followed would decide the fate of the entire galaxy. The fall of Mars, the first strike against Earth. It began without warning. Mars, Earth's largest military colony, home to millions of human civilians and thousands of warships. One of the most fortified planets in the Sol system. But when the rebellion attacked, Mars fell in less than 3 hours. Massive EMP waves disabled planetary defenses. Sabotage teams, already hidden within human cities, hacked into Earth's security grid. A surprise invasion fleet warped directly into Martian orbit, bypassing Earth's early warning systems. The ESS Titan, Mars's strongest warship, was obliterated before it could even fire a shot. The enemy's message was clear. We are not the ones running anymore. You are. By the time Earth's reinforcements arrived, Mars was gone. The red planet, once a symbol of humanity's expansion into the stars, was now under enemy control. And this was only the beginning. Admiral Cole's counterattack. The battle for humanity's survival. Back on Earth, Admiral Cole stood in silence. For the first time in his career, he had lost. Mars had fallen. Billions of lives lost. Entire fleets destroyed. Humanity's greatest colony taken by the enemy. The Terran High Command gathered, their faces grim. "Sir, the rebellion is spreading like wildfire. They've taken Mars. The colonies in Sector 19 have gone silent. Even some of our own allies are switching sides." Cole clenched his fists. He had spent his entire life winning wars. But now, for the first time, Earth was on the defensive. A new type of war had begun. Not just fleet battles, not just orbital bombardments, but espionage, sabotage, and deception. Humanity's strength had always been brute force. But now, they had to become something more. Cole turned to his officers. His voice was calm, but sharper than steel. "We let them take Mars. That was our mistake." He raised his hand. "Now we make them regret it. Earth's final stand, the battle that will decide everything." As humanity prepared for war, both sides knew what was at stake. If Earth won, they would cement their rule over the galaxy. If the rebellion won, humanity would be erased from history. The final battle was coming. The largest conflict in galactic history. 1 million warships. Superweapons capable of shattering planets. Espionage, betrayal, and destruction on a scale never seen before. This was no longer just a war for power. This was a war for survival. And at the center of it all, standing on the bridge of the ESS Vengeance, was Admiral Cole. His final order echoed across every Terran warship, a single phrase that would decide the fate of humanity. "We win, or we die." The galaxy held its breath. And then, the war began.